Hello and welcome back to Life with Dr. Amanda. I'm Dr. Amanda and it's time for another Medicine Monday, where the aim is to educate, empower and equip you with the knowledge that you need to live your healthiest life. Now today is the first of my series for Black History Month, where I'm going to be interviewing some amazing Black British female doctors. And our first guest is the amazing Nellahgrace. She is a doctor, a recently qualified doctor, just qualified this summer after studying away in Lithuania for the last 6 years. She is a medical influencer, so she is online on the internet, on YouTube, her YouTube channel, also on Instagram, and she has so many other strings to her bow, including being a business owner into property and also a very active Christian with her own biblical boss babe business also. So there's just so much to talk to her about. She has a very inspirational story and she's someone that inspired me to actually come onto YouTube as well. I've known her for quite a few years and I hope you enjoyed the conversation that we had as much as we did. Right, everyone, here is Nellahgrace. I know you as Petty more, and Nella is a newly qualified doctor, and there are so many different titles that I think you have. You're a business owner, you are an influencer, you're a doctor, and this conversation will get more into a bit more about you. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm genuinely honored. So thank you. I can't wait to have this conversation.
Oh, definitely. So for Black History Month, I've chosen Black female British doctors that I'm really inspired by. And so I want to give a little bit of a background about where I kind of came across you and everything like that. And so I actually met you first personally. I don't know if you remember, I think I was in the third year of med school and maybe you were a Bradford student. Were you in Bradford then?
Yeah, I was a med
biomed. Yeah. And so we're both Seventh-day Adventists, and there is this camp that happens over summer called Aberdaron that like kids go to. And we were there. I was there as a counsellor, and you were working there, but I don't know if you were a counsellor.
Yeah, I was working.
Yeah. And we both went with our then boyfriends, who are now our husbands. And I remember that's where I met you. And then after that, I don't think I've seen you in person really since then. But I started seeing you online and saw your journey that you were going into medicine, and then saw just what you were doing and how much you were sharing. And I've just seen everything grow. And honestly, watching your journey and seeing your life with medicine, how you've kind of approached it, that you kind of went out of your comfort zone and went abroad and everything like that, it's been amazing to watch. But also your life outside of medicine too has been really quite awesome. And you're one of my inspirations for actually thinking maybe I could do this YouTube influencer online life. And so, yeah, you've been really inspirational. And I'm just really excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I do remember that actually, like us meeting so many years ago. I think we did meet again once more, I think at church or something, but yeah, it's been like just online. Hey, I see you. So yeah. It's
crazy. But so I guess the first question really is about your journey into medicine. I gave a little bit of a hint to it that you went abroad and you did a different course beforehand, but what has been your journey into medicine? Why did you start this journey in the first place? What's it been like for you?
Yeah, so I actually I think it was the camp that you're talking about, Aberdaron. I remember I just my relationship was quite new, and I remember my now husband asking me like, what do you want to do with your future and all that stuff. And at the time I really felt a really like a calling to do medical missionary specifically. So I wanted to go and help people with their health. I wanted to go share Jesus with people, but specifically through health, because I believe that Jesus, where the bodies are, our bodies are a temple and all these things. And I wanted to share the health message, like the idea of us keeping our bodies healthy and all these things with people. And I just thought, well, the best way for me to do that is to become a doctor. At the time, that's what I thought, because I thought people are going to take a doctor more seriously than they're going to take someone who did, I don't know, a 2-day course on herbal medicine. So that's just what I thought at the time. I just thought, well, I'm going to have more credentials if I become a doctor. So my reason for wanting to become a doctor to start off with was because I felt a calling to go into health, specifically as a way of sharing Jesus with people. So it was a way, I guess, to say I wanted to help people, but in a more way. And I don't think I actually ever share that. Like, I remember for my interview for medical school, when they asked me why I wanted to be a doctor, I didn't share that because I thought they're not going to get it. They're going to be like, what? What are you talking about? So I feel like this is probably one of the first times I'm actually sharing why I wanted to be a doctor in the first place, because I felt like, oh, I'm comfortable. She understands. She'll get it. Yeah. Like on a public platform. Because usually I'm just like, oh, well, you know, I don't know, I like medicine and I like science and, you know, all the things that people say. But that's really why I wanted to become a doctor. And that's still where I think I want to go towards in terms of medicine. But yeah, that's what led me to wanting to be a doctor.
Oh, brilliant. That's amazing, that is. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. That was the reason why. I think for myself, the whole medical ministry, that I learned more about it after I'd been into medicine and learned more about the impact of it. And actually, at the start, when I first learned about it, I was like, a lot of these medical missionaries, like, where are they even getting their information from? Like what you're saying about credentials and things. But no, I think it's a really important part. And that's really amazing. For myself, I think faith was a big thing for me as well, in terms of why I wanted to do medicine. I remember saying that, you know, whenever someone, when they're most vulnerable, is often when their health is, when someone's health isn't right, they're at their most vulnerable. It doesn't matter if everything is going right, so you've got all the money or the family or this, the world. When your health is bad, you often feel so, it can just affect everything. And the reason I wanted to do medicine is because I saw the impact that Jesus had on people. Often when he introduced himself to people, or when he showed his love, it was often healing people. And he did that so much because it's such an important part, and that was one of the things that drew me to it. But that's really interesting, and thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you're so right, and you're right about the fact that I didn't know to what extent, but now I see it, now that I'm a doctor, that the medical missionary work I wanted to do, I was never going to learn that in medical school. Like, it's just not where you learn that, because it's just, medical school is traditional medicine. And I'm more into naturopathic medicine. So I didn't really learn that in medical school, but I still love medicine, and I loved medical school. So it's like that, it kind of solidifies that I wanted to just become a doctor so I could have that credential. So I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm a doctor. Not that every doctor knows what they're talking about, but you know, It was that idea. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. And so you came into medicine because of that. It was a calling. And then what was your journey like actually because this is the first year, isn't it? You graduated this summer, is that right?
Yeah.
So you graduated this summer, and you started your journey. When I met you, that was, I'm trying to think how long ago that was. Like I'm nearly 30, so maybe like 8-9 years ago, something like that. So at that, so over the 8-9 years, how has that journey been from realizing that's what you wanted to do to actually completing your degree now?
Yeah, it's been a long journey. So like what you said, when we met, that was like 9 years ago, and I was in my bachelor's. So I was doing a bachelor's in biomedical sciences, but I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. And it's funny because even then, like I looked up to you and other people that I knew were either in medical school or had graduated to be doctors. That's why I love that you're doing this with Black History Month, because representation really matters. Like, I remember even messaging you a couple of years ago asking about, like, okay, what it's like working in the NHS and all these things, because obviously I studied abroad, and I really needed that. Like, I needed to see Black women in medicine in order for me to see my future, almost like to be like, wow, they can do it. That means I can do it too. So for me, my journey like started in biomedical sciences, and I looked up to people that were like me, who proximity to me that I was like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. So it made me like pursue medicine properly. Then I actually applied in the UK first, but then I didn't do my due diligence before, because all the universities I applied to didn't actually take you and while you were still in your third year. Like you had to apply after you'd graduated.
Yeah.
And I applied during my third year. So all the universities that I'd applied to didn't take me, even though I had, I ended up finishing with a first and I had a really high UCAT and all these things, but I didn't get in because I just didn't know that they wouldn't take me because I was applying in my final year. So I applied to go abroad, and then I got into Lithuania, which is where I ended up doing 6 years of medicine in Lithuania, and then came back here, and now I've just graduated. So my journey's been long. I wouldn't take it back though, because it's literally where I believe how I was supposed to do it. Because had my journey not been long, had I not, decided to study abroad, I probably would have never started a YouTube channel, because I would have never thought that there was anything to share, because I thought that there was something to share because it was different. I was like, okay, yeah. I'm a person who's studying abroad and things like that. So it's been a long journey, but worth it. And so that's basically how that's kind of progressed. I think that was the question, right?
Yes, that was real. Can I ask, what year did you start going to Bradford Uni? What year did you start going to uni?
2012, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was at Bradford Uni for 1 year, from 2010 to 2011. And I was like, did we? No, we didn't. But yeah, I just wondered if we crossed paths. Okay, so that's your journey into medicine and what it's been like. But I'd like to know a bit more about Petty, Nellahgrace, before the uni, before the medicine. What was your upbringing like? What's your background?
Oh my gosh, I always say to Nu, my husband, that I feel like I've lived like two different lives, because before I was born in Zimbabwe, which is in Southern Africa, and then my dad moved to England when I was like 5 maybe, and then we joined him eventually when I was around 8 or 9. So I came to England when I was like 9, and then I've lived here ever since. So that's kind of like my background. I'm Zimbabwean, and then I grew up here. So I identify, if you ask me what I am, I identify as Zimbabwean. Zimbabwean British, but British is like here. I'd say I'm more Zimbabwean. So that's kind of like my background. So I grew up, just like a normal life. I was really good academically in school. So I always thought I would do something academic, but I was also very creative. So I loved all the creative arts. I was in every drama class in school, after school club. I was in drama, I was in dance, and I wanted to be on Disney Channel. Like that was my dream. Like,
amazing.
I want to be on Disney Channel. I want to be on TV. And it's funny because recently my dad was just laughing at me because I was like in a commercial back in Zimbabwe and I was like 5. And he always says like, he always thought I would be on like TV or some sort of like something like, I guess, YouTube. So that's kind of like my.
And here you are.
I know. I've always been both. I've always loved academics, but also been very creative. So it's always been like a tug of war of like, what am I going to do with my life? Am I going to be on Disney Channel, or am I going to be, I used to want to be a lawyer. Am I going to be a lawyer? Am I going to take academics or creative? So that's always been my upbringing. And throughout my teenage years, I was a bit wild. And, before I met Jesus, I was a bit wild. I was all over the place. I was a bit of a rebel, my parents would say. And when I was 17 is when I had an encounter with God, and I gave my life to God. And then that's when my life, I kind of felt like I had direction. It was when I decided to go into medicine and to apply for that. And that's where my life changed. And then I've got this half of my life now where I've pursued medicine and all that stuff. So that's basically like my history and who I am and like where I come from.
Okay, lovely. And you know what? This actually leads really nicely into my next question, which was, so you kind of said it there, that you felt like you had to choose, am I going to be this creative, free spirit, singing, dancing Disney star, or am I going to be, straight-laced, lawyer, doctor, very organized and pen to paper and everything? But what does life look like for you now? Did you have to make the choice? because when I see what you're doing, it seems as though there's a real amalgamation of things. And I know that you're pursuing things as well in terms of your spiritual life, your Christianity with one of your businesses as well. And so I think often, especially when I was younger as well, I thought I had to make this choice. What kind of person I want to be that, if I'm a doctor, I need to concentrate on that. There's no space for all that creativity and fluffy stuff. But I think we can show that, I think especially with you as well, you don't have to make the choice. I don't know if you feel that, but looking at what you're doing right now, you've kind of made this amalgamation of everything. So what does life look like for you now?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, it does feel like that when you're younger. I think now maybe it's a bit different because, we have YouTube, we have social media, and people can see that you can do, you can do both in a way, but there's still like a huge majority I know of people who think like doctors have to be rigid and you can't even post yourself in a bikini online. I don't know where that rule apparently came from, but that's not true. Doctors can do that if they want to. It's not like breaking any. So people feel like this professional code in general makes you like a specific type of person. But I just couldn't. Like I needed to have an outlet of both. Of who I was. Like I was a creative as much as I was an academic. And I think for me, I was lucky enough that YouTube was about. So I was able to still concentrate on my university and my academics and then just vlog it. So I was just able to document it. So I documented my medical school journey. So that allowed me to have a creative outlet. And then through that, I realized that, I can do both. And even then I've realized that you have people, medpreneurs and people who've gone into med tech and all these things. You can do medicine and also bring in creativity and entrepreneurship and all of those without actually losing your medicine, which is what I want to do, which is what I do now. So now I do YouTube full time at the moment, and I'm going to start part-time as a doctor soon. So I'm going to locum. And so that allows me to work as a doctor because I love medicine and I can't picture, some people will do medicine and then just quit and then just do, full-time creativity. But I love medicine. Yeah. So I'm trying to do both at the moment. I'm waiting for it to look for a job to do part-time as a medicine and part-time as a content creator. So I can kind of do both. So you absolutely do both. Like if you don't want to do content creation, you want to do entrepreneurship, you can do that. You can go and pursue that, whatever that looks like. Like I'm not an expert in that kind of field because I know it's a proper field that people go into. It's, with medicine. So there's definitely a way to balance both, like what you're doing as well, right? Like it's sometimes you can, it reminds me of when you're applying for medicine in your personal statement, you spend all that time trying to make yourself seem like you're a dynamic person. So it's like, you're not just an academic. Well, I have hobbies too. So showing that it's supposed to be like that, you're supposed to be a person that is an all-round person. You're supposed to have hobbies outside of medicine because there's a reason for that, is because you can't just be a bookworm. For your own mental health, even, you have to have more things. So it's good to be an all-round person. And I just think that that's what's helped me. And now that's what I do. I just do both because I love them both.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And the thing is absolutely what you said as well about, you put in your personal statement all these things. You've got to show that you're well-rounded, that you've got hobbies and sports and volunteer work and all this stuff. And it's because to be a doctor, for you to actually be able to manage with everything, you've got to have something outside of medicine. Otherwise, you are going to burn out so quickly. Yeah. And also, the best doctors are the ones that have lived life and have experiences. Now, you can be somebody that has so much book knowledge, academics, all that kind of stuff. But when you actually come to treating patients, living patients, it's all about how you can actually apply it to their life. If you're just going to sit there and tell them the guidelines and stuff, if this person isn't going to be able to do that because of the way their work schedule and their culture or whatever, you can't adapt your knowledge to that. You're an absolutely useless doctor. It's true. And the thing is, I've met doctors who are like that, and they're the ones that have to hide away in a team and they're not ones that often are seen as the doctors that can actually interact with patients. And they're often these recluses and things. But doctors that are the best ones are the ones that have that variety in their life, that actually have real life experience as well. And I'm so excited to see the rest of your journey though, because now that you're finished studying and you're going to be working as a doctor, I've not seen personally anyone do this. So you know what you're talking about, part-time working whilst you're doing your like locoming and then foundation years and all that kind of stuff, to see how that comes to life. And it's amazing, because now this new generation of doctors, it's so funny. So from my generation of doctors, if you look at my generation and the ones that are maybe 10 years ahead of us, we're starting to branch out, but we're still very traditional doctors. And then the ones after me, even the ones that are just like 2-3 years behind or 5 years behind, it's like a completely different way of doing medicine, and it's amazing to see. Some of the older doctors are kind of fighting against it and saying that, you know, medicine should be your life. But it's just so great to see how this new generation of medics are coming out, that we are, you know, pursuing things outside of just the not the 9 to 5, the whatever hours you do. It's really quite cool to see, and it's so inspirational to my generation as well, and the ones above, seeing what you guys are doing. We talk about it, and I talk about it with my colleagues, and it's like, have you seen these new doctors? Have you seen what they're doing out there? It's really, really cool. And so I'm just excited to see what happens with your journey. And I hope you continue to share it.
Thank you. It's funny that you say that, because I'm like, I don't even know what it's going to look like, but I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. Because I know that it's hard, because I'm like, I know that medicine is a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to take, you know, it takes a lot. Like, you see people, but I just don't want that. So I'm like, if I have the option, if there is F1 locum or F2 locums for a reason, right? So I'm like, even though it probably does make my life so much harder, because, you know, if I'm only working 3 days a week in a hospital, I'm going to be probably I might be clueless to start off with and all that stuff. But if that's what I want with my life, then I just have to work 10 times harder than other people so that I can have that life that I want. So I just think that if it's possible, then why not pursue it, you know? And and then see the realities. And if it's not realistic and it doesn't work, then that's fine. At least I tried.
And that's what I mean. That confidence to take a risk and to try something different and do what works best for your life is great. It's something that I'm learning to do now. So the fact that, like, I've pursued YouTube, but I didn't even look at doing it before I finished my training. And because I'm trying to branch out of like the traditional NHS work and things, and doing things that meet more to my lifestyle, it was such a massive decision for me after training to drop 1 day at work. It was like this big thing, and then like, you're doing something completely groundbreaking. You're like, you know what, I'm just going to figure it out, see how it goes. This is what I want to do, and that is to be applauded, and I can't wait to see it. If you look back over like 5 years ago, so let's do 5 years ago, did you think you would be where you are now? Is this what you imagined life would be like, or no?
No, it's what I wanted, I think, 5 years ago. So 5 years, it's what I wanted my life to be, but I didn't know if I would do it. So right now my life looks like I'm married, and I live with my husband in a nice city that we always wanted to live in. And, you know, I'm doing YouTube, my YouTube's got like all these things that I wanted and were part of my vision of what I thought I wanted my life, but I never thought that I would actually be here. And it's testament, 1, to faith, and 2, to actually having intentional direction. So like, you know, I'm a big vision board kind of person. So it's like, even though I'm not a manifestation type of person, but I am a vision board person. So I feel like, you know, if you live in your life and you have a direction of where you want it to go to, you work towards that. And when you work towards that, if it's God's will, then that will happen. So I feel like I am where I wanted to be, but it's definitely not where I thought I would be. Like, I'm just like, I actually made it out of medicine to start off with, no, out of as in to finish medical school as in itself is like a big whoa. Can't believe I even did that. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely like shocking, but it's where I wanted to be. So I'm happy.
Oh, brilliant. And it's because when I look back, say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because 5 years ago I was actually married. I can't believe how old I am sometimes. Anyway, or how long I've been doing stuff. But if I look back, say 5, 10 years ago, I probably am at the place on paper where I thought I would be. So if you asked me when I was 20, I'd be like, yeah, when I'm 20, say I'm going to be, I'll be married, and I have a kid, my house, I'll be a doctor. And on paper, those are all those things that I'm doing. And it's like, what? How did that happen? But the actual reality of living it is something that I never imagined. The actual day-to-day of what my life is like and the reality living it now and the journey it took to get here it's like, oh, that wasn't expected, but it still worked out. So in 5 years' time, if you think to yourself now, and not any concrete plans, because I think that's, but what kind of, do you have a vision for where you see yourself in 5 years? Do you know what you want to be next for you?
I think the word that came to my mind is free. I'd love to be free. So, and that it's in everything. So financially free, physically free, like not feel like I'm tied down to a place that I have to go to this job in order for me to work here. Free in terms of, I don't know, just free. Like, so I think in 5 years time or in 10 years time, if I'm freer in all aspects of my life, I feel like I feel content now, but I would feel content in 5-10 years time. So I don't know what that looks like, whether that looks like I'm free because I have a huge YouTube channel that allows me to live my life, or I'm free because my job as a doctor doesn't take too much of my life or my time, or I'm financially free. I don't know, but I think that's where I'd like to be. I have not even thought about, it's funny because I am kind of a person that thinks about like 10 years in the future, but I can't think of what I actually want necessarily, but I think the feeling of freedom is maybe that's what I would want, because I don't think I'm quite there yet of feeling free.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm kind of on the same path as well. If I look back 5 years ago, I had a very clear plan of what I wanted to do 5 years from there. I could tell you a breakdown, a list, a timeline, everything. And now it's like, 5 years from now, I want to be content. I want to be, I just want to be happy and stable and full of joy, and
exactly
more of the feeling with it instead.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe a baby.
Did you say that? Oh, lovely. But yeah, thank you so much for coming onto my channel today. And you know what, it's so funny, every time you're talking, I'm like, oh, that was another thing that you kind of put me onto. You said about being financially free. Dave Ramsey, I remember a few years ago, you posted like the 7 baby steps, and I was like, what is this? And then it got me onto Dave Ramsey. So you're just out here inspiring, just sending out these little gems all the time. Yeah,
I love him. I love Dave Ramsey. Life changing.
Yeah, he's great. But thank you so much for coming on my channel. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you everyone that's watched as well. You've seen here another Black British female doctor, and the kind of life that she's living and your journey. It's a story that a lot of people will be able to resonate with, and be able to actually, like you said, having someone in close proximity that looks like you, that are doing things, it's hard to be something that you don't see. And so it's great that you're putting yourself out here, and thanks for being on my channel today. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe. Please like this video and share, and there'll be more amazing women that I'll be interviewing for the rest of the month of October. Yeah, so thank you, Tepi, and see you soon.
Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.